Okay, we're back. We're back. Yes, I was making. I have two. This 12-hour chat is sponsored. No, I wish sponsored by Coca-Cola and Celestial Seasonings Peppermint Mint Tea. My current favorite tea at the moment is Peppermint Peak because it is peppermint, which helps my sinuses and my stomach, but it is black tea, which gives me caffeine. So I have a fresh cup of that, which is too hot to drink, and I also have a Coke because, you know, it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. Bart told me I could do this, but it's not working in the browser. Anaconda made it. Hello. Okay, I'm sitting on my shirt now. Put my glasses back on so I can see. Hello, Mr. Chris. I know 4 years of 12-hour chats. And we have made it through the first 3. Mr. Bart, if you're still watching, when I right-click on the Spotify playlist in the web browser, it doesn't give me an option to change the title. It says start a radio, make a secret, delete, copy it, open it, but it doesn't let me. There's got to be a way to edit it, though maybe I can't do it in the browser. I didn't download the app on here. I'll have to try that later. Anyways, if you have just popped in randomly, we are doing 12 hours this is the 4th year that we've done this, and it's just a mishmash of anything to talk about and ramble about. We started going through my favorite decks. So we have gone through my favorite tarot and oracle that I use a lot in readings. We've also finished going through my whole favorite tarot deck collection. I think we've counted them all, and I have like 37. If I just kept these, I would be good. Obviously, all you need is one tarot deck. But if I were to really pare things down, those would be the ones I would keep. So we still have this cubicle to go through, which is all of my favorite oracle decks, other than the ones that we've already talked about that I use for clients a lot. And there is my friend, Miss Kristen, who is taking my class, which I'm so excited about. So is Mr. Chris. Hello, Mr. Chris. Patsy's Mystical Musings. There's whale songs. So we've got people that made it from the other one. So every 3 hours, I'm just going to do a quick recap. Every 3 hours, we end the video and start a fresh video. And I take a break to run to the bathroom, get fresh drinks, run around the apartment with Belle to get her moving, and then come back. And so we have had our first swap over. I'll put the link in here again just for so it's in this particular one. But at the end of the last grouping, I have a mixtape game that is coming. I ordered a deck to look at that's going to be delivered today, hopefully. And then I had a mixtape game where it's like certain situations, what would be the song playing. And so at the end of the last video set of time, 3 hours, we did if you were in a car, trapped in a car with zombies all around you, what would the music that would be playing during that. So let me grab the link here, copy playlist link. And so I popped it into a Spotify list so that people could go and watch what people had thrown out different songs that they would do, and we'll make several different ones. I just really need to figure out how to change that to be specifically to the zombie. That way we can make different playlists for each. I'm going to try this. Wow, we're not in a rush here because obviously I am here for a long time. So let me open it on my iPad and see if there's a way to change it in that app. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. I can't speak already after 3 hours. We'll see if that opens up and I can change it. Simon, you of all people should know how it works. I know, we can't be in a hurry. We got 12 hours. It doesn't want to, my iPad's confused. Probably because I'm streaming. Maybe the internet's confused. I don't know. I've never used Spotify, so this is my first. I just did it for this particular thing. We'll see if that will open up or not. Anyways, yeah, Sherry Bug. I just am using it for this. Kelly, I can walk you through change. Rachel G, if you could, that would be fabulous. But I'm using my problem is I'm using the browser one, if that makes any difference, because let's see. Oh, let's see. Somebody's telling me something. Oh, okay. He says it's when clicked on in the side library. Okay. Let me see. No, it's the same thing. Oh, there it is. I got it. Thank you, Bart. Let's put that. This will be our Surrounded by Zombies playlist. There we go. Now, I wonder if that changes the link. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link again just in case. Thank you. And thank you. I'm sorry. I've already lost it. Rachel G, I think it said she would walk me through it. Thank you for offering to do so. I don't know if that changed it. I don't think it did. It wasn't by the name. Amethyst Ascension. I just went through and got all of the worksheets. Oh, I'm glad that you did. I'm assuming just my random worksheets. I'm obviously missed something trying to figure this. But we got it. So now I'll make each of the playlists to do with what topic we're talking about, and then I will link all of these later and put those up on a Facebook page or in the bottom of the videos once they're all processed, so that people can find our playlists for the different topics that we're going to add. That is funny that you mentioned that, Chris, because Zombieland is one that I have not actually watched, and I watch almost all of them. I did get the World War Z. Oh yeah, I did change it over here too. So okay, I did get the tarot. I got the World War Z tarot, the new zombie tarot deck. I'm going to do a video for the last. There's going to be a reading. Obviously, we've done 3 readings for Embrace the Rat Magical, so I know I want for Halloween to have the 4th and final one for Halloween. And I'm also going to put up a video of my favorite kind of creepier style decks. And so I will look at that. Shaun of the Dead is truthfully, I know we're going into zombie world full on blast, but Shaun of the Dead is probably my favorite zombie movie. It's so funny and so gross also, but also it's so smart. I absolutely love Shaun of the Dead. In terms of books, that's hard. Probably Girl with All the Gifts is probably one of my, again, because it's so smart and it's so interesting, that probably Girl with All the Gifts is one of my favorite zombie books. But I do like a lot of them. So And I like all the way from kitschy zombies to really large zombies. Like I love The Walking Dead to, I like, and everything in between. I like the whole thing. Oh, Izzy, I love Simon Pegg. Yeah, the book is called Girl with All the Gifts. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I say these things, and there is a movie version of it, which isn't bad. I like the girl who plays in it, but the book is, as always, the book is far better. The book is written by M.R. Carey. My favorite of the like the Shaun of the Dead and that series of books or movies that they did, my absolute favorite is Paul. I absolutely love Paul. And yes, I agree, Tarot Tattoo. I started over at the beginning. My son and I used to watch them together, and he passed away, I think, in the second season. So I hadn't seen all of the seasons, but I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think that trying to stretch it to, is it at 9? I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. And I apologize because I'm nothing I can do about it. Anyways, there's only so much you can do. You're going to run, find what you think is a safe place and start all over again. So I think that trying to pull that into 9 seasons is probably a little bit, it's just not going to work. But I do think they did a really good at the first few seasons that I saw anyways. I really want my tea back, but it's too hot yet. Mallycat just finished reading Girl with All the Gifts. It's really good. Again, the movie version, I think it's a British-made movie version, maybe. I don't think it was not in the movie theaters that I'm pretty sure it wasn't. It was like an independent movie or something. It's actually pretty good. I enjoy the movie, but the book is definitely better. Okay. I think what we had decided I was going to do is finish up with the favorite decks. Again, I had planned to do that at the beginning because I figured it would be really slow at the beginning. I might be talking to myself, but no, I wasn't talking to myself. We had some fantastic people to talk to. But since I started it, I'm going to try to keep it in the first part of it so that people don't have to have it too spread out across all of the different videos. So I'm going to, let me put these over here because I'm going to talk about those separately. And I want to talk about this separately because those are newer decks. So I'm going to pound through those real quick just so that we're done with that section. I've already talked about my favorite Oracle decks that I use for other clients or other people a lot, but I do want to talk about the rest of these are my favorite decks, Oracle decks. I'm just going to pull some of these down here since it's kind of behind me so that I can reach them. So again, these are the decks that if I only kept X number of decks, these would be decks that I would do so for different reasons. I don't have I have a video, Anna Teresa, about herbs and things like that. I don't actually have a ton of books. I have I do have books. I have a couple books, and I have a couple more with essential oils, and also how I organize it. So I have a video on that. That might be more cohesive to what I have than here. Okay, so I'm just going to pop through these real quick while this is a playing card deck, so it really should be over here. But we talked about the Arcana playing card tarot deck. I absolutely love this particular playing card deck for reading with playing cards. I know there's people who are going in and out, and she gets very... I don't understand it. Somebody can explain it, but she's grew up in this apartment. So there's always been people walking up and down the steps. And generally it's the same people. Now we do have 2 sets of newer people, but still at some point, you'd think she would just get used to it, but no, she has to talk about it every time. Anyways, of course, Bob Ross. Come on. Come on to Bob Ross. We don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. We just have happy accidents. Whatever makes you happy, you put it in your world. Oh, yes. Trees cover up a multitude of sins. Oh, yes. There's nothing wrong with having a tree as a friend. Of course there's not, Bob. Of course there's not. You have unlimited power here. You can do that. You can do anything on this canvas, anything. Paint your world. Painting will bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Oh, yes, it will. Also some frustrating thoughts. However you think it should be, that's exactly how it should be. I just love this deck. It makes me happy. I know Simon didn't know who Bob Ross was. It was the weirdest thing ever that somebody wouldn't know who Bob Ross was. But I absolutely love these. I don't know. I think I got these at Michael's. Or no, I mean, sorry, Barnes & Noble's. I don't know if you can get them on Amazon. I feel like some people did pick them up on Amazon, but I'm not entirely sure about that. That may be, oh, it looks like Nikki put them up. I'm not sure. But anyways, there was a run on it. I do think there was a run on that deck. Robert M. places the Hermes playing card. This is one of my favorite decks. Again, this is one of those decks that, hey, you can only take one deck because the zombie apocalypse is happening. And I do. It's over. It's over on my painting decks, Miss Veronica. Makes me so happy. As well as a magnet. And I think you might have sent me the magnet, or maybe somebody else sent me the magnet. What I love about this is that it is a playing card deck for divination. It is also a Lenormand deck. 36 of the cards are associated correctly with the Lenormand deck. And then it has the other cards that fill in from some of the other fortune-telling decks that were 52-card decks, like having the pig card, the broken mirror card, the handshaking card, the eye card, things that you found in other fortune-telling decks at the time. Also, this can be the miners of tarot. So in one little deck, you can take off, throw it into your zombie backpack, and run with it, and you've got all your divination needs in one spell swoop in a very small, compact deck. So this is definitely, when I go out of town where I just don't really want to take a lot of things, I almost always will take this because it just, for me, it covers a lot of the divination holes or needs that might arise. So I love this deck very much. It's definitely a favorite oracle of mine. Are those all the smaller ones? I think so. I love this deck. This is called Divine Feather Messenger. I just really love this deck. Actually, this should be down in the decks I use for clients because I do use this in my Walk in the Woods reading, but I don't know why it's not there. So this has... and it's got the feather. I mean, look at that. It's this beautiful watercolor feather. And then it has sort of the canary and like step forward now and sing your song. I don't know. Feathers for me, connect me to my son. I always collected feathers. I do think they are messages when you find a feather or when a bird hops next to you. Or something, you get a flight of bird takes off, that's a message. There's so many messages out there with birds and feathers. So I just love this little deck. It really is sweet and simple and just, I love it. Obviously, obviously all of these I love. These are in my favorite Oracle decks collection. So clearly I love them all. Chris asked if I do love Wings of Enchantment. It's not in my favorite of all Oracle decks, but I do love that. The power of Wings of Enchantment is in the guidebook. I mean, the art is gorgeous, but for me, the power of that deck is in the Oracle, or in the guidebook. Because if you read that out loud, I truly believe she just tapped into something there where you just, maybe it's in here. It could be in here. But you just, when you read it out loud, it's like you're speaking words of power. Another of my favorites is the Madame Endoras. I love this deck so much. It makes me feel like a fortune teller when I use it, but more than that, it's actually a really good reading deck. Christina, I am with you on that. I'm not buying, well, I did buy a deck for today. It's coming in the mail, hopefully, while we're online. I'm not purchasing a deck. I'm looking at my favorite ones that I have. So we have the Siren. It reads really well. It feels like a cross between a fortune-telling deck like a Sibylla or a Lenormand or something like that and tarot. It's kind of got a cross between those feelings. So it reads really well. Like, this is one of the few Oracle decks that will do a larger reading with. Because it just works really well. But then it does have that mystical, magical feel to it where you feel like you are a fortune teller. And I love it. Tarot Student says, what do I think make a good Oracle deck? That is a very good question. I know a lot about what makes a bad Oracle deck. What makes a bad Oracle deck for me is when you just take a particular theme and you just put a bunch of images to that particular theme, and then throw some keywords on it. Because what ends up happening is that you have, yes, a bunch of beautiful images, and you have a bunch of random keywords to it, but they don't feel very cohesive. And when you go to try to do a multi-card reading with them, they just kind of feel like, what? Like, what? This doesn't really work. It doesn't string together well. Now, sometimes those types of decks work well for a single card. If you're just going to pull a single card out to wrap up a tarot reading or find a card of the day or something like that, then that might work better. But in terms of reading like an oracle reading with multiple cards, there has to be some more cohesion than just this is a theme. Speaking of, this is a good example of a good oracle deck. This is the Oracle de Reflects, or the Oracle of Reflections by Celia Malsville. And this is a wonderful deck. Because it's a system. Now, I will say this is a deck that is far closer to like a Kipper deck or a Lenormand deck or a Sibylla deck. It has that style here. Like here we have the star, we have the lotus, we have single type. This is a spark of life. It has a significator card, a male and a female significator card. So it feels a little, and it reads a little bit more like one of those type of systems. This is one of my favorites. I just love, I love this, and I love reading with it. So yeah, that's one of my absolute favorite decks. Examples of a bad oracle to me, not to speak ill. Yeah, see, because I think that what's a bad oracle to me is not going to be a bad oracle to other people. So yeah, I would hesitate to say good and bad, but whether what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And so certain decks that are, I can't remember what the artist, and it's not opposing to the artist whatsoever, but they have all like big heads to them and big eyes. I can't remember their name. A lot of those decks are often pre-existing art decks. And that's another, I think, way in which a deck ends up not being very usable to me. Yeah, Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Again, the art styles is, people love her, and she's an amazing artist. Not my favorite type of art, but those decks, very often I found, I used to have quite a few of them, somebody had sent me, they often were based off of pre-existing artwork. And so I think the decks that start with the artwork, and then you pull a bunch of art from them, and you put the put titles on them, doesn't tend to be as cohesive as something that was built to be an oracle and the artwork was created for the oracle. I do think you can tell the difference. Now, I think you can see this in Brian Froud's, and I love the Brian Froud oracles, right? I love his artwork. But if you look at his 2 oracle decks, both of those are pre-existing artwork. One of them was, I think, curated better. So I think the Fairies Oracle, the cards were curated in a way that was much more cohesive to the to making it into an oracle system. Whereas sometimes with the Heart of Fairy, which I've had the longest, and I love that deck, the system behind it doesn't feel as cohesive. So I think it's problematic when there's pre-existing artwork versus artwork that's somebody's taken the time to figure out a system and then make or get artwork to fit that system specifically. Does that make sense? So I think it's more about that intention there than anything. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's exactly, Chris. I do think that it has a lot to do with pre-existing artwork. And I'm not saying that you can't do it, because obviously the Baba Studio decks that I've already shown, those are pre-existing artwork done beautifully. Tarot of Delphi, the new Majestic Earth artwork. There are exceptions to that rule, but I think it takes somebody that's really being careful and mindful. The John Bauer. I think that it's more that you have to be able to, it takes extra effort to make that work. And that's the thing, Chris, for sure. Oracle is a very broad term. Technically, tarot could fit under oracle. Oracle is just something used as oracle divination, generally using to cards. It's a broad term. And so there are what I think of as affirmation decks, where you pull one card for a message. There's one type of oracle. There are oracles like the Oracle of Reflections, that is a system that has significators, that is built more, or say even the Madame Endora's that has suits to it, so that there is a system that's involved there, or the Shaman's Oracle that has suits that are really strong, well put together suits. So there's so many different kinds of things that go under the umbrella of oracle that makes it a little bit harder to say, what makes a good system oracle, what makes a good affirmation oracle, what makes a good, XYZ. There's so many different kinds. Another favorite oracle of mine is the Goddess's Knowledge card. This is the artwork of one of my favorite artists, who is Susan Seddon-Boley. This is pre-existing artwork. She's passed away before this deck was created. But I absolutely, and it's very glary, so, and the sun is starting to come a little bit up. But I absolutely love this deck. And then, yes, Sherry, then we get into, so then we have, first, of course, we have the different types of oracle. And then we have the different ways in which we respond to artwork, right? Art is such a powerful force that can cause us to recoil, or cause us to touch our souls, or cause us to laugh, or cause us to experience joy, or trigger sorrow. Art is such a powerful thing that no two people are going to be the exact same in how they look at a piece of artwork. I know they're so shiny, but I just don't care because of her artwork. Again, my only sadness is that she doesn't, I wish they would take, because she has a lot of males in her artwork. She has a book called Shaman. It's a book of her artwork that has a whole bunch of really great male images. And I just wish, I've written them numerous times to say, please put one out that has all of her male gods or shamans or something. Call it shamans and put that out so that I can have both. I've tried to make one that had regular cards and then ones that I put on paper, but they didn't split correctly because it was two different kinds of paper. So anyways, her artwork is amazing and I love that deck. Miss Veronica. Someday, someday, when we're old and gray, right? No. I know someday. Maybe they'll come out with it. Maybe they'll take you what you do, Miss Veronica, and turn it into a deck. You know me. I love the Halloween Oracle. I don't use it just at Halloween, but I so enjoy using it this month, right? This is a version that Patrick spray painted. This was his, he spray painted it and then he sent it to me. I love this version because if you know me, the only thing that I don't like about the Halloween Tarot is the back. The front images are super beautiful and powerful. They're the artwork of Jimmy Manton. And then these again are very glossy. And then the backs had little Halloween ghosts on them. It just didn't really fit. And again, I love the kitschiness of Halloween as well as the power, but it didn't match the deck. And so he spray painted them black and they're holding up really well. I've riffle shuffled them, I've overhand shuffled them, and they work beautifully. So yeah, I love this deck. In fact, we're kind of close to our 1 o'clock. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull from this deck. I did sing happy birthday song to Libby. He literally laid them on the ground in the parking lot and spray painted them. And they've held up. I mean, they're not perfectly flat. You can see variations, but they shuffle gorgeously. If anything, they even shuffle better than before. I've riffle shuffled them, bent them. He's riffle shuffled them. They haven't cracked. I don't know if he's on here. I'll message him to see what paint he used. Let me see if he remembers. Bart. What paint did you use for the Halloween Oracle? Anyways, it was spray paint and it's held up really beautiful. I don't think he did a video on it, Slip the Trap, Chris. I don't think he did a video about it, but I remember he literally just laid them out on the parking lot, spray paint them, let them dry, and that was it. And then he, oh, pizza sounds really good. Then I think he used probably Sharpie on the sides for blacking it. Yeah, the backs are just not my favorite. Now, Miss Veronica has also, here, let's see if he says. He says it was just a matte black spray paint from Lowe's, is what he said. Wasn't anything fancy or anything, but I know, Christine, I think he kind of went to the side or something. There's Patrick. Maybe he can tell us more. I don't know if it was some kind of special flexible, but it's not chipped at all. And I've riffle shuffled it. He's riffle shuffled it, and it's holding up really well. It does pack a punch, Psychic Knitter. I agree. I do feel like it works really. Oh, I just loved it. So let's pick 3. We have the Mummy. So we have All About Change. We have Winter. Winter is coming. Change is coming. We're in the middle of a shift, no matter where we are in the world, right? We're in a shift moving towards a new season. Whatever that looks like for you, for us, for me, for where I am in the Northern Hemisphere, it is a shift towards that pause that comes with snow and winter and ice, which I think is really powerful. For other people, it's shifting in other directions, but we're in the midst of that shifting where we're coming towards the end of fall and coming into where the colder weather is and the shifts that are going to take place. But it's going to be a time of illumination because the last card is illumination. So be prepared for changes. I think the winter card says take time to sit with whatever those changes are for you. It doesn't matter what the changes are. We're not necessarily talking about the weather itself, but the idea that we're shifting into a new energy, and whether that's just not even seasons, but in your life, if there are changes and energy shifts that are happening around you, take the time to sit with those, pause and reflect on the changes that are occurring, because that's where you're going to get those moments of illumination. You're going to get those aha moments. You're going to get the understanding that change, if you sit with change, because we often fight against change, right? We push back against change. We distract ourselves from the changes that are happening. We're not generally, I think human beings aren't overly fond of change. And so when it comes, though, instead of fighting against it or pushing against it, sitting with the change so that you can then have those moments of clarity and understand why things are changing, understand why this is happening, and you can move with it and learn with it and work with the energy instead of fighting against it. So I just love this deck. I love this deck so much. So there we go. We got in our reading for 1 o'clock, as well as working our way through my favorite Oracle decks. Yes, Patrick, I've been using them with all my Embrace the Magical readings. I've riffle shuffled, overhand shuffled. There's no cracks in them whatsoever. They look amazing. It's crazy. When he told me he was doing it, I was like, that's just going to crack and it's going to crackle and paint's going to chip off, but it hasn't done anything. Another one of my favorite decks is the Lavish Earth crystal deck. This Lavish Earth is the name of a shop in Maine, actually. It's a crystal shop, but she made a crystal deck. And so I love this deck. I can't even tell you how many readings I've done with this deck. Generally, I use this in conjunction with another reading. I will pull a crystal card because of the quotes on here. Now, the downside, the negative is look at how little the font is. So there are quotes. That's not a good example. There are quotes all around it, and it's the font. This isn't gonna focus in. But anyways, the font is so tiny that it is hard for me to read even with my glasses on, but it doesn't matter because it's so perfect. Every single time the quote is just perfect to the situation. And then a lot of times the person I'm reading for will pick up like a tumble stone of whatever the stone is while they're working with that particular situation, which is amazing. There's a new edition. Oh no, don't tell me that, Patrick. Anyway, so for example, this is the fire agate, which is about protection. And so the key or the message is a quote from Marguerite Rigoglioso. I'm sure I'm slaughtering that. Healing mantra for the day. May I feel all I need to feel in order to heal. May I heal all I need to heal in order to feel. I mean, come on. It's about protection. It's about grace under pressure. And then the quote is about feeling what I need to feel so that I can heal, but healing everything that needs to heal so that I can actually feel those feelings. Come on. I love this deck so much. This deck Oh, it bubbled up. See, I have no bubbling up. I'm sorry to hear that, Chris. This has been massively well shuffled, and I've had no issue whatsoever. So I'm sorry to hear that. I would say this deck and my Darkness of Light Tarot are probably the two decks that lasted the longest, and maybe even the Moonchild have lasted the longest. Like they sat on my table forever, you know, probably more than a year, because I usually rotate the decks that are on my reading table. These two decks have probably spent the most time on my reading table because they just are fantastic. Anyways, we're keep on moving. So here's some more little decks. Let's go through the little decks. Again, if you're just coming in, I need to get that, Simon. I need to order that, actually. I'm going through my favorite Oracle decks because why not? This is called the Witchwood Oracle Fortune Cards. As you can tell, I love fortune cards. I love this deck. The owl, the horseshoe. Celia Mouseville, you did just miss your deck. I'm going through my favorite Oracle decks, and this is Celia's deck. It's one of my favorite, all-time favorite Oracle decks. The dagger, the witch. Oh, whoa. The witch. The lady, so there's a lord and a lady. The mask. I just love these types of decks. They just make me happy. They read really beautifully. This is a one. There's an expansion pack. See, I'm learning things myself. Apparently, I gotta write this down. Apparently, there's an expansion or a bigger deck for crystals, and apparently, there's an expansion pack for this. Is this what? Who said that? Darcy, there's an expansion pack for the Witchwood? I love the idea of expansion packs. Just don't make us buy the deck again. Give us an expansion pack. That's awesome. If that's the case, that's amazing, because I'm really not a fan of having to repurchase a deck because they've added more cards, or they've changed a card. I don't want to have to rebuy a deck that I love because they've done something to it. So I absolutely love if they've done an expansion to that, because then you just buy the expansion and you don't have to buy a whole nother deck. Pet peeves. Even though I understand the desire to kind of rework your deck, but at the same time, I don't want to have to buy a whole nother deck. Have we had confirmation about the expansion? Somebody research this. Somebody research this. Okay. Again, if you're just coming on, I've gone through all of my favorite tarot decks, all the favorite tarot decks I use with clients, all the favorite Oracle decks I use with clients, and now we're just going through my favorite Oracle deck cupboard, all of my favorite Oracle decks. So that is that's what I'm doing. This is, I believe, I don't know if this is in print or not. She does do cycles of having them in print. This is called the Curious Oracle, and I just love this deck so much. So it's called the Curious Oracle. It's on Etsy. The creator's name is Holly. Is it Defont, I believe? Something like that. I'm not entirely sure. This is one of the reasons that I love this deck, like I said with the Oracle of Reflections and other oracles, is that it's got a system involved. And she actually put out a guidebook that you could download, I think, for a couple bucks, or maybe it was like $5 or something, with more kind of going into reading with the cards. But it has suits, and within the suits, it has progressions, and it's just gorgeous. This is a huge, I just love this deck. It's not a cheap deck. It was out of print for a while, but it is, it's just beautiful. Oh, it's not the Witchwood, it's the crystal deck. Oh, you got me so excited, Darcy. Oh, you're saying that the Lavish Earth, you can just buy the extra cards? Is that what you're saying, Darcy? Blackbird. I love the mask there. The Gall. Anyways, I absolutely love this deck because, again, it has that Lenormand, Kipper, Sibylla style to it. It's much more spiritual in nature, I believe, than practical. But it also has a system that's involved that has both the suits, which are amazing, but then within the suits, there is a progression and a movement. So it is expansion as a crystal deck. Well, that's awesome because then I can just get the expanded cards. So I'm going to definitely look into that. Thank you for letting us know. Maybe we can talk the Witchwood into putting expansion in. Another favorite of mine is the Cartes Divinatories Dialgarel. I'm sure I'm slaughtering that. I apologize to Alcide for slaughtering that. I love this deck. This is also kind of reminds me of the Oracle Reflections. Again, these are, oops, that's upside, no, looked like it was upside down. You know, you have simple things like the flower or the helmet, right? They have no keywords on them, but this just reads really beautiful. I like this for past life readings, where there's a part where I do an oracle part where just a message from the past life to your current self that kind of comes in there. And it is just super simple, but there are like this one card that shows up, the door cards, the pathway, you know, path through the doors are beautiful. There's one card, there's a ship card, there's a bridge card. There's a card where like it's a, there's a pendulum card. Like there's a rope card, but they just, I don't know, there's something about this particular deck. You know, there's this kind of going through the tunnel, that transitionary stage. There's just something about this deck that is really powerful. I know there is a second edition, I think, to this. I can't remember. There's something about the second edition. I liked the first edition better, but I was sent the pamphlet for the second edition because it actually had an extra section in it, I believe, for using it for past lives. So I did like the difference in the guidebook, the little pamphlet. But anyways, those I love. That's one of my favorite decks. I believe the word Dialgarel isn't a real word. I could be wrong. Again, maybe Miss Celia will know better than me. But from what I understand, that's like a made-up name, a made-up word, or a word that he, you know, got in a dream or something along that line. I believe that's not. I believe that's not an actual word, but I could be wrong. Okay, we're going to keep moving. Favorite decks, of course. We can't have a favorite Oracle decks without, you have to know what's coming next. The tiniest but thickest set of Oracle cards. The Margaret Payne. Mildred Payne, because I can't talk. You know I love this deck. And it's not just because it's cute, and it is cute. And it's not just because it's Halloweeny, and it is Halloweeny. It's actually an amazing deck to read with. I have several videos because there's been tons of expansion. Talk about expansions. He has made this into an amazing experience. I know some people haven't enjoyed it, and some people have. I've been one that has thoroughly enjoyed all of the expansions. I like all the same backings that it got turned into later. I really appreciate that. I think a lot of people think that it is a scary deck or a negative deck. I have a video on my channel going through it and showing it's actually very well balanced. And if anything, by a couple cards, it might skew more towards the positive, but very, very, not by a lot. So it's very balanced. It reads like a Lenormand deck, a Kipper deck, a Sibylla deck. More like Lenormand and Kipper, I would say, than Sibylla. And it's just amazing. It reads like a fantastic... there was a puzzle on the back. They redid it with a single back on all the cards, which I actually prefer. So there are, I don't even know how many cards are in here now. A lot. I was trying to see how I would be able to tell that. Maybe by this. The Mildred's pack. The last set goes to 84. So there are 84 little cards in there. Got my grave diggers thing. It's just amazing. But, you know, love or hate Patrick Valenza's marketing skills. Some people love his skills and some people not so much. I've greatly enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed when there was a new, because he had a whole storyline to each of the, you know, expansions that would come out. And you didn't have to go back and buy the whole deck. It was just an expansion that was there. And to me, it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And the deck that is created out of it is beautiful and workable and usable. And I love it. So I'm a big fan. I'm not a fan of his other decks, just because I don't... I think his artwork is cool, but it doesn't, like the Deviant Moon Tarot just didn't work for me. But that deck, you know, all the way. So there we goes that. This is the Magical Times Empowerment card by Jody Bergsma. This is one of those decks that I would have not probably purchased because I would have thought it was a little bit too cute for me or too fluffy in some way. But we have talked about obligatory. When do you plan on releasing a mini version of your Lenormand cards? Someday, when I'm old and gray. No. I just put in a sample deck trying to get color right through where I can order it in the US. And so I'm waiting for that deck to come back. I mean, it's just one of those things. I don't have a specific date for it, but we'll see when that one comes, when the colors come back, whether or not that is the colors are going to work. When I'm happy with the colors is the best I can do with that. I've said a couple times when I think, and that hasn't happened, so I don't really want to do that. But it's being worked on. Now I've lost track of what I was saying. Sorry. That's why I shouldn't look at the chat card when I'm trying to stay focused. No, I know I'm as probably as not. No, I'm probably not. I'm probably am as frustrated as some people because I need a mini deck. So that's why I'm doing a mini deck, is because in my space, I need a mini deck to do a grand tableau. And so I really want the colors to be right though. So hopefully this last iteration is going to be correct. I'm trying not to jinx it, but I'm hoping so. This deck is one that I used, as you know, if you follow my channel, when I have certain months are very hard for me in terms of grief work with my son's death. December is extremely hard for me because it's the month that my son died. It's tied up with Christmas, all kinds of things that happen. So I generally buy a deck. It's usually an oracle deck. Excuse me, not always, but it's usually an oracle deck that I will kind of work with in December. And it's usually more of a hug style deck, more of a deck that is going to be supportive in some way. And for me, I think this was last December, I had picked up the Magical Times Empowerment card as one of those decks, and I just fell in love with it. I absolutely love Jody Bergsma's artwork, and I absolutely love this deck. It's just it's just beautiful. It is empowering. It focuses on clarity. It focuses on empowerment. It focuses on support. So it's definitely a deck that is what its role is. We talked a little bit about how it's hard to say what makes a good oracle deck because there are so many different kinds of oracle deck. Am I looking for a Lenormand like oracle deck that is going to, I'm going to use to get in there and dig out and get answers? Or am I looking for an empowering deck that is going to support in a different way? Or am I trying to have something bring about a summary or bring in an energy of a crystal or something like that? There's different types of decks, of oracle decks. And in this case, this one is about strength, flexibility, empowering you to get done what it is that you need to get done and to heal. So, and it does really well in doing that. I don't use this to do like a reading with. I pull 3 cards in support of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And it works really great that way. So that's what that is. If you're just coming in, I'm going through all of my favorite oracle decks at the moment, trying to keep them in the first section. I'm going to, just so I can clear these as I go. These little mini decks, I just love because they're mini. I'm a big sucker for miniature things. I love tiny things, mini things. I love it. And so these decks, being small and mini and cute and cheap, that's the kind of thing that is going to get me. My favorite is the Divine Doors. So this is the Divine Doors, and it has different doors on all the backs. So every back is a different door. I know, Kasha, hello. I know that's on my list. I wanted to sit down and try to research which ones had different backs, because I prefer the ones with the different backs, and they don't all have that. So I'm trying to figure out which ones have it. Yes, I am planning on getting it, and I'm glad that you said that, Simon, because I don't want to miss out on that. I just haven't gotten around to it. So this is my favorite one because it's literally like, what I like to use this for is with my journey tokens, pulling, or with a set of runes, or with oghams, or with charm casting set. Excuse me. This picking a door as the center of a casting reading. So I love to just grab one of the doors, and this is the door of Jude's song, a reminder for even the most hopeless of lost cases, you can find peace within the strangest of places. So that would be the doorway, orienting self into that door and then doing a casting around it. So I'd set this in the center and then cast runes or my tokens or charm casting or something like that on top of it. That's how I use this door one, and I really, really love it for that purpose. It's really fantastic. So that's truthfully probably my favorite. If I'm talking about my favorite oracle decks, it's this particular Divine Door one. I like the rest of them because they're mini, but they're not my absolute favorite. But I love the Whispering Woods, but it's, again, are all the same backings, and they're beautiful backing, but it's still all the same backing there. And then this is a little bit different. It's more like a keywords. I actually think this one reads really well for like a 3-card pull because it has different keywords on the back of it. So I like the Whispering Wood one. I like the Star Seeds one. This is by Nari Anastasia. That was the first one that I got before I knew they had so many of them. And this is similar to a mini version of the Cosmic Reading cards, which you know I absolutely love. This has different backs too, which I love. So this is probably my second favorite of the mini ones. And then I also have the sea melodies, which I also like. I like all of them. Again, I love mini things. And so they're cute and they're mini, but this is my absolute favorite because I use this in casting readings a lot. So there we have that. If you're just coming in, I am going through favorite Oracle decks. I have a cubicle of all my favorite Oracle decks, and that's what we're going through. We're coming to the last row. I have a lot of Oracle decks I love. It's funny because Oracle decks are going to have my most misses. So I have the most, like I have a pile of Oracle decks that, you know, I need to sell because I get the most misses with Oracle decks. But then when I find them, I really enjoy them. I would definitely do that. Let me write it down, Miss L. I think I did. Maybe it was an Instagram. I feel like I did it on something, but it wasn't separate. Casting with Door Oracle. Hopefully I'll remember what I mean here. Dustin is doing a giveaway with win a date with him. But I'm doing a giveaway. Your giveaway is to have a date with Dustin? Is that what it is, Dustin? That is hilarious. But yeah, he would need to have a plane ticket. Okay, these are empty boxes because these are the Brian Froud. I keep my Brian Froud decks in here. But those, we already talked about those, and those are mixed together right now. So that's what that is. This is the Rackham Oracle. I think, truthfully, I probably like the Rackham Oracle more than the Tarot. I mean, they're both in my favorites, but I probably like the Rackham Oracle more than I like the Rackham Tarot. I know there's a new edition of this where the ones, I think some of the colors are brightened up where you can see them a little bit better. I think that the... some of the ones that were horizontal aren't horizontal anymore. I'm not sure, but I really love this deck. I love the word choices at the bottom. I know some people were like irritated by some of the words were older words that aren't in use. Learn words, people, right? Learn words. It's okay to learn new words. Look them up. See how to use them. Try to use them in a sentence. Like, it's good to expand our our vocabulary. Dustin, yes, Kelly. Learn words, people. Just learn it. It's good. But I love this Oracle. It also has Significator. I most often use this deck by using the significators. So, for example, I know if Patrick was on, he would be putting that on a t-shirt. Hashtag just learn words. Learn words, people, would be, I'm going to have to make a t-shirt. I know that sounds really condescending, and I don't mean that. I do kind of, to be honest. I just think there's a frustration as that, you know, we shouldn't be limiting ourselves, right? We shouldn't be limiting ourselves and saying, well, those are harder words, or those are words that are not in, you know, we're not really using those words anymore, or whatever. I think that, you know, we're limiting, that we're perfectly capable of learning new words. We're perfectly capable of looking them up and putting them into vocabulary, and it's okay. So I don't mean to sound like a snob or anything, but I just learn new words. It's good for your mind. Google Kindle does make looking it up really well. Bye, Miss Kaleidoscope. Enjoy your dinner. I know it's not hard to look them up anymore. And make up words. I do make up words. My daughter gets irritated with that a little bit because I make up song lyrics. But, you know, Shakespeare made up tons of words. If Shakespeare can make up words, I can make up words. The human language doesn't have to stop either. Like, we're still growing and adding words in. If I can make up words, all of them, good with it. I do it all the time. So anyways, what I do with this is I will shuffle, 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 and then I will find the significator card. So I'm going to see if I can quickly find the significator card. So there's a male and a female significator card in here. Obviously, my preference is just to have significant and querent, like is in my my Lenormand deck. But so I will find the significator card and look at the card on either side. I also do this with Oracle of Reflections. I really love decks that have significator cards in it because of that factor. So then I can look at this in quackery, professional incompetence. I mean, come on. I love this. Professional incompetence with quackery is in the past, but moving towards strength. And this really reflects me. I've definitely come out of a period of just not being in the best headspace, definitely feeling really incompetent, maybe professional at it, but moving into now a position of strength. That tends to be how I use this deck, is to pull from the significator, pull the card on either side. And I really think it's an amazing like that. So because I do have the Rackham Tarot, which I haven't used as much, but I personally think that this translates better in the Oracle than the Tarot, although I enjoy the Tarot as well. It's definitely in my favorites, but I really love the Oracle. Cockwomble. Is everybody putting in new words now? Okay, we're almost done. I'm gonna try to keep plowing through. Apparently, I like a lot of oracles. So these three oracles no. This is a Lenormand. We'll do Lenormand and Kipper and things later, so I'll put that over there. These two are interesting. This is I don't know if this came out. This came out this year in 2019. I truly believe this is like one of the big innovations of 2019. This is called the Open Portals. It's by the creator of the Prismavisions. And it's a card system. And I feel like it's like in the line of how, like Kipper or Lenormand or something would come about. It has an actual game playing system. It has the playing cards on it. But then it has this whole oracle reading system in it as well. Now, I have a hard time reading the black version, so I'm going to go flip the switch to the other one. There's a light and a dark version. There's a red, a black, and a black and red font. I have a hard time reading the font. It's got the God of Knowledge. It's just beautiful. I absolutely love to read with this. It has its own system. It's got gods in it. It's got portals in it. It has different types of magic in it. It's just a really, in the artwork, of course, this is a portal for the beginning. It's just a really, really smart, well thought out system that I just think I'm just really impressed with. The time, I think, that went into being able to think up a game that can be played as a game, but then being able to pull this into a working oracle system is really amazing. So absolutely love that. And then I really love this deck. This came out a while back as a larger deck, and they re-released it. And I was so disappointed when I got it because I thought it was playing card size, and it wasn't. It was larger, and they re-released it in the smaller size, and it's called the Illuminated Playing Cards. And I just love this. Is again, you get two decks. They're the same decks. One's light and one's dark, which is really great for doing light and shadow readings. And it is a 52 card deck, but it incorporates both the major arcana and the minor arcana into the 52 cards. So it is a playing card deck with the overlay of tarot symbology onto it, and I really love it. Obviously, it's in my favorites. It's in my favorites. Anyways, yes, I totally agree, Simon. I think that this iteration of it is kind of brought it full circle to what it needed to be, right? And that happens if you're creating something. It happens. It happens with my. I started my journey tokens as an oracle deck, and I got the system in place, but it just wasn't clicking. When it turned into a casting system, it all really clicked into place for me, and now I'm painting it as an oracle deck. Now that everything is kind of come into place, and I know how everything works, now I can go back and I can paint it. So, I mean, the process of creation isn't something that is completely linear, right? We're always thinking and shifting and changing and working through. And so I can understand why you would have this type of shift. And I really like, there's another deck that you see that, actually, I'll pull that next. I think you also see that in the Lunar Nomad Oracle. So I actually love this deck. This is based off of Lenormand, and there is an original Lenormand deck that I have that I love to work with. But as in the process of doing that, the artist realized that for him, again, just for him, it's the Lenormand has an oracle component. And so he recreated the deck as an oracle. Now, I do not like Lenormand decks that are giant. I don't like them. It goes opposing to the way that Lenormand is read. But this deck works beautifully as an oracle deck. I really like that you see that progression from the artist in what they were trying to create. So this is the only exception to my rule of a large Lenormand deck, because, again, I'm not a fan. You can't lay out a grand tableau with anything bigger than a playing card deck. And so if you are going to make a Lenormand deck, make it playing card size, if not smaller. But this is the exception to the rule for me, because I absolutely love this oracle deck. It's in my favorites. And I think there's a big misconception that Lenormand isn't for spiritual things, isn't for going into depth in things. It's just practical, and that is not true. Is Lenormand good at practical? Yes, it's very good at practical. I can do a spiritual reading with a Lenormand deck just as much as I can with a tarot deck, and I think this is a really good thwarter of that mentality, that you can't take Lenormand concepts and have a really deep and powerful reading with them on spiritual topics, on grief topics, on just in-depth topics. And I think it's a real misservice to Lenormand that people think that it's only good for practical readings, and it's not. And this is a deck, I think, that highlights that. So yeah, there we go with that. This has some extra cards in it as well. See, are we almost done? Yes, three more of my favorite oracle decks. Now, again, we've already talked about my ones that I use all the time, so those we've already gone over. These are just other favorite ones. Three more and we're done. This is the shamanic medicine cards. I just love the color palette in this deck. I love the themes in the deck, this idea of soul retrieval. I love that it isn't grounded in one. The concept of shamanism, the concept of an earth-based walking path that you might be on, crosses cultural boundaries. I think that we often think about shamans in North American indigenous tribes, but shamanism is a term for earth-based sort of primal, going back pre-organized religion practices. And I think that this does a really good job of sort of tapping into those energies and those practices without rooting it only in one particular culture. And so I just love the color palette. I am very much these earthy but really vivid colors really works well for me, and really taps into something for me strongly. So I love this deck. There is that. Oh, my goodness. My goodness. I don't know why I'm feeling in a rush, because we've got so much time to fill. I shouldn't be feeling rushed. Two more. Devas of Creation. Patrick, if he's still on, he's supposed to be writing the titles. The cardstock on this is not great. The numbers are often hard for me to read, and I wish the titles were on here. But other than that, it's just a stunning deck. It's just a stunning deck. This deck for me is similar to Illuminated Earth in that I believe that, and you can see, like it's just not great cardstock. Trimming, edging it does help. But it just doesn't matter because it's so amazing. Illuminated Earth and this deck do an amazing job at connecting just the natural energy movement of the world around us. Now this goes outside of the world and goes to the universe. But she also, both of these decks do an amazing job at understanding that science and mysticism go hand in hand. Science doesn't supersede mystical, magical aspect of Earth, and the mystic and magic of Earth doesn't negate the science of Earth. And I love the way that she coordinates DNA and the understanding that DNA is spirit, right? It's the same thing as spirit. It tells something what to be, so that the structure of DNA or whatever the scientific structure of the compound in the earth tells it what to be. It's the voice of spirit that says, be this, manifest as this, come out as an animal, come forth, manifest as a human, manifest as a rock, manifest as a crystal, manifest as a leaf, unfurl as this particular thing. That the science within that is the same thing as spirit or as source. They don't fight against each other. And that's one of the things that I think is so powerful about this deck. I do, again, wish that the titles were here, and that because even the numbers, I sometimes have a hard, like this, I have a hard time even seeing what that number is. So, but I think it's absolutely an amazing deck, and it is definitely in one of as my favorite Oracle decks, no question. And this has been well shuffled, well used. I do think the edging helps with just some of the chipping that you get. And so, of course, you can go back and re-edge it. This has, again, been really well shuffled. But, yeah, it's a really amazing deck. I don't shuffle it gently. And it's still alive. It's still alive and kicking, but it definitely isn't a cardstock that's going to hold up well to that. Okay, lastly but not least, again, these were not in any kind of order. They're just me pulling them out. I actually have one other one over there. This is the Chronicles of Destiny. I love this deck so much. I've had this deck for a while. This is called Chronicles of Destiny Fortune Cards, and it is by Emily Ellershaw. The artwork is by Claudia McKinney. The artwork is not my favorite. It's very, romance novel, almost to the romance novel, you will see this is very well used. This has had shiny edge on it, and I have shuffled the heck out of this deck. Michelle, are you still on? Hi, Kelly Bear. I didn't see you. A lot of readings. I do a reading called Get There Reading, where you kind of pick yourself, which would be the hero or the heroine, and then you pick where it is that you're trying to get to, and then you pick 7-card line reading of how to get to where you're trying to go. And this reads really well with that. Kind of Lenormand, Kippery, Madame Endora feel to it. And for linear reading, like I love the call to adventure. Are you going to step into the book? I just love this. So I know, I definitely agree, Kelly Bear. There's a place for, and I don't think it's intended to be. I think it's just that I don't like photo manipulation that much. So that tends to make me feel that. But there's a lot of that, you know, that romantic, here's the beautiful, the call, like heed the call. But I love it, like the victory card or the warlock. You know, it's that kind of cheesy goodness warlock. But then look at the castle. There's this one card, this conflict card, I absolutely love because it is conflict that arises, but how is she meeting the conflict? She is picking up the sword and she is just swinging away. She is not daunted by the conflict. She's not stopped by it. So I just love this deck. Here's the heroine. And I've done a ton of readings with it and I love it. And it is part of one of my favorite decks. So there we go. There we go. We need a Way of Weird deck. Yes. Although I think to me the Way of Weird deck is the Devas of Creation, the Illuminated Earth, my tokens. Like I do think that the Way of Weird, there are decks that work within the Way of Weird, even though they aren't specific decks to it. So there we go. Now I got to try to put some of these back. We have worked our way through favorite tarot, favorite oracle, favorite tarot and oracle that I use with a lot, I use a lot for client readings. This cubicle here are decks that that are new and that I'm still working with, that I'm enjoying, but they haven't made it to the favorite, category, that kind of stuff. Sorry. Definitely feeling it with the throat a little bit here. As I said, I kind of came into this 12-hour thing with a bit of a cold going on. So I'm not sure how amazingly well my throat's going to hold up, but I am drinking a lot of tea to try to survive. I'm going to just have to fix this where it's working the way it needs to better later because it's Oh, I have 2 more decks I wanted to mention real quick, but they're kind of in that category of I haven't had them long enough, so I'm not going to put them straight into my favorites. Oops, I'm missing. This isn't good. This needs to go into its box. We have destroyed my shelves. Actually, my my tarot I got back pretty good, but this section will need to be reorganized for sure. Because it's falling all over the place. This one goes back out here because it always stays out. One that so here's a couple that are fast becoming favorites. I haven't done a walkthrough of either of these yet. These are 2 favorites. This is fast becoming a favorite. Okay, I'm going to talk about these 3. These 4. These are decks that I don't have it. They're not my favorites yet because I haven't had them long enough to say that they're my favorite decks. but they're quickly becoming favorites. One of them is the Divine Muses. I haven't done a walkthrough of this yet because I really wanted to use it, and I have used it quite a bit. So I need to do a walkthrough of it. I just wanted to give it a really good work through. And I just love this deck. This is called the Divine Muses Oracle. It has a lot of archetypal energy in it. Again, it's photo collaging, which is not my favorite. I'm not a photo collage person, but this works. And I have a lot of decks that I end up loving. This is the Muse of History. There's different muses, the Wild Woman and the Wild Man, the Sacred Witch. I will say that this does have quite a feminine feel to it. I wish there was some more masculine energies into it. The World Weaver card. Hello, World Weaver. Love the World Weaver card. So it feels, this deck to me feels like diving into the water of the High Priestess. This feels like you are just swimming around in the High Priestess waters. That's to me what this deck. But it has, what I like is that it has some keywords that aren't always in decks. It has totems of the different elements. Great mothers. It has an ancestor card. I love this unknown card here. Is amazing. Sometimes things are just things are not knowable right now. I love that card there. Astral Ascent. Mystic Rapture. It literally feels like going to a Sybil, going to going to the Oracle of Delphi, like going actually to an Oracle or a Seeress or something and getting a message from a High Priestess. Like that's kind of what it feels like to me. I'll do a walkthrough of it. I just really wanted to give it a good working because I wasn't sure what it would be like, and so I wanted to give it a little bit of time to do that. And the guidebook is amazing because again, this is what I love about collage decks are great when they are really mindfully done. And so she even lists in here like when she used a specific, why she used a specific image. So like in the card that was, the card name is Shadow Queen, it actually uses a spirit photo that was taken in the 19th century when they were taking spirit photos and things like that. She used images from that. Or sometimes it is a specific ballerina or a specific person as an old photograph of a specific person and why that was used in the cards. So the guidebook for this to me is like crazy fabulous. Anyways, that's what I'm working with, but is very fast becoming a favorite. The Magic of You Oracle is, I have actually used this with a couple clients, not too many. I love this deck, and it's, again, really not me, but I don't really use the titles, but I love the keywords and the images. For me, this is very liminal space. This is very kind of touching on uncomfortable areas, I think any deck can be used for shadow work. Like to me, that's not something, yes, I did the edges in green. So it has a lot of green overtones in the deck. I don't know. This is not a typical type of deck for me, but there is something about the images and the little sentences underneath it that feel like Fae energy. It's very stuck in between worlds kind of energy. It's very much, what's that? We've talked about this before. What's that movie with what dreams may come? that movie, What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams, where his wife is, you know, when you die, you kind of can get trapped in, you know, wherever your mindset is at the time. And so he's having to kind of go into the dream world, into the afterlife, to try to you know, help save her from her own hell of her own devising. Kind of has that feeling. It has that feeling of being in that liminal space. So I'm loving that. Again, it's not yet in my favorites, but it's closely going there. And the other one is the Oracle of Murmurs. Why do I say that? The Oracle of Whispers. So in English, I wish, Chris, you know how I feel about this. Yeah, you know how I feel about this. So it's a big frustration that it is a problem. Oracle decks particularly have a problem with a lack of good masculine images, and just both. Like, I don't even want an all masculine one or an all feminine. Can we just have a beautiful mixing of both? 100,000% agree. This is called the Oracle of Murmurs, or the Oracle of Whispers. And I love this deck. This was a gift, actually. And not for the purposes of review. I did a review on it, but it wasn't, she didn't give it to me to do a review. Like a lot of times, you know, people say, will you do a review of the deck? Sure. This was just for me, and this is so, again, not me. This is why I'm saying it's important to go out of your comfort zone. This feels young to me. Like with the Star Child or the Moon Child, where they feel, you know, very young, very modern kind of energy to it. I love this deck. I love this deck and my journey tokens. For some reason, they play along really, really nicely. I like the lack of titles, but I do also, her titles sometimes in English are a little bit hit or miss, but when you actually read what the keywords are, it works really beautifully. Like, I mean, look at how beautiful that is. So it feels like a really nice blend between, like, again, a Sibylla or Kipper style deck, but at the same time, it has a bit more of an oracle feel to it. So this isn't in my favorites yet, but I'm really enjoying working with it a lot. Like this image, I absolutely love this image. Hello, Miss Osset. So this one was a surpriser because I thought, this is a little too modern. It's a little bit too young for old me. But no, don't be afraid to go out of your comfort zone a little bit. So yeah, so that's one that I'm still playing with and getting to know, but I find myself picking up a lot. I tend to come to it. So it's not, we just went through all my favorites. These are just a couple decks that are moving towards that category. The last one, and to me, this is again about the guidebook, and I don't tend to love guidebooks. I don't think Elrond is on anymore. Oh my gosh, I just noticed that he used Elrond on his guidebook. This is not just because I consider Elrond a friend, but I do. This is the Spirit Doodle cards. Now, to me, the power, and I've talked to Elrond about this, so he's not going to be offended. The power of this deck is the guidebook. I considered the cards to be similar to like the Weaver's Oracle, where the pulling of the card is great, but the power of the reading is in the guidebook. Like, the guidebook is amazing. It comes with a PDF when I went and printed it out. That's how much I like it. And I don't generally do that. But I love that there are songs that are attached to it. But even the images themselves the doodles do speak to what the vibration is. And that's how I look at the doodles. This is not an open one. I'm going to do a walkthrough, and he gave me an extra deck that I'm going to do a giveaway on, but so I don't want to open this one. But the doodles feel very vibrational. It's more like you're seeing what music would, and he's a musician, so that makes sense. But to me, the images look like what the sound of that oracle would look like. But the guidebook is fantastic. I really think, and he doesn't think he can write very well, and I absolutely love it. The very first one that I pulled had my song "I Am Luana," which is that's my song, and he put that in there. It was the very first card that I pulled. So I'm working with this one right now, and I actually started playing the piano. I took piano lessons a long time ago, but I haven't played piano in forever. And so I got myself a keyboard, as cheap as I could, with weighted keys, because I learned to play on a regular piano. And so I have my doodle deck and a little thing to hold a card next to my piano. So I pull a card for my music sessions, and then I practice my piano. So it's really tied in with sound and music and vibrations and those types of things, which is pretty cool. So those are the extra ones. They're not, again, I'm just starting to work with them and use them, but I'm really enjoying them. So yeah, we are going on 2 o'clock. We're about ready for another oracle pull. Should we pull one of the newer? I've got a brand, I want to try this one. This is a totally brand new. Oh, this is another one that I'm working with. I've already done a walkthrough of this. This is the Ancestor cards, or I'm sorry, the Archetype cards by Kim Krantz from The Wild Unknown. Love this deck, and I didn't think I was going to be honest, but that's not, I haven't had it long enough to have that be in my favorites. So I'm going to pull from a new deck. I haven't done a walkthrough. I haven't really done much with this deck. I have read most of the book. So this is a book deck called the Raven's Wand Oracle. The reason that I got this deck is because I have, again, my friend Kristen was on here earlier, and she does not have any Oracle or Tarot decks, but she's taking my class, which is fairy tale based. We're reading a couple books, but then throughout it, you need to use one deck to do some reading so that at the end of the 4 weeks, we kind of will create our own little fairy tale for ourselves. And she's never had a tarot deck or an oracle deck. And so I was trying to think of a deck that I thought she would like to use. And so one of the decks that I think she was going to like was the Force of Enchantment Tarot. So I did my walkthrough of this early because I was saving this for November, but she thinks she might want this deck. So I did a walkthrough of that. And then the other deck I thought she might like is the Raven's Wand Oracle. So I picked that up so I could do a walkthrough of that to see whether I thought she would like it. This is by author. So Stephen Hutton wrote the book, The Raven's Wand, not Oracles. I think it's called, okay, let me look, because I've got it up here. Raven's Wand, the Dark Raven Chronicles book 1 is the one I'm reading right now. And so he wrote the book, but he also did the illustrations here. So I'm like, oh, somebody got like an amazing double dose of creative geniusness, huh? But anyways, so I picked this up. There was some disappointment. Well, number one, I'm not entirely through the first of the books, but there were a couple people that I thought were really important in the book that aren't in here. So that was disappointing. There was a young girl that's in here that wasn't in here that I thought, well, why isn't she in there? And then there is a male animal / human hybrid person that was in there as well that's not in the deck, and I was kind of disappointed. And I was also kind of disappointed at how many females. There's almost all females. There are like 5 or 6 males in here, but they are the race of animal and human. But here's the thing. The thing is that the first book anyways, and this is based off of the first book, is based in a world in which this is like back when the witch trials were going on, back when the witch hunting and things like that. So it's like an alternate universe of kind of England, but when there are actual full covens of witches and there's real magic. I do believe it's real magic, but I mean, there is like fantasy style real magic that's there. And the coven that the first book is based on, is an all-female coven, and that not all of them are like that. There are male covens, there are male and female covens, and then this particular one is a female one that seems to be more sort of taking in the people, the females that have been discarded. So there is a very strong theme going on in the first book itself that does center around that. So it makes a little bit more sense for it to be a deck that has mostly female characters in it, because that's, maybe there's going to be another deck that's going to have other ones. I'm not sure. But I was disappointed because in the book, there are men and women, and these like hybrid creatures. So I would have liked it to have been a little bit more, his art's amazing. And again, I think that it makes more sense because it does actually go with the book. But I will say, in terms of reading, I feel like it may actually do pretty interestingly. Changing faces. So these are people that are in the book itself. Now, can you enjoy this deck as much outside of the story? I'm not sure. Again, I just got this because I'm going to let's give this a shuffle and pull it. But his artwork is stunning. Like, I'm just like, really, guy? Like, you can write an amazing story. I cried. Now, I'm not saying it's like a Pulitzer Prize winning, I'm also reading Patricia McKillip, who's just like, she is like an artist with her words. So it's not to be on the same quality as some of these, like Patricia McKillip's word writing. But it's a good story. It made me cry. I was crying through a whole chunk of the book. That was really, really sad. And then his artwork is stunning. I'm like, this guy has got a like massive dose of creative abilities. So there are multiple creatures like this where you have a morphing of animal and human. It's part of the storyline, and all of the males in the deck are those and they're actually a race, so I don't want to say that. They're an actual race. But it is almost entirely females, and they're females again that are actually in the book. And again, it is focused around this particular coven, which is a lot. I think what this would be a really good deck for are for I love this old ghost ones, are for especially women who maybe grew up and were in a less than kind of culture, maybe even stronger. For example, I grew up in fundamental Christianity, and it was an extreme version of fundamental Christianity in which women are less than. And so a lot of the themes of this particular book are on that sort of, okay, reclaiming your own power if you've experienced being cast out, being considered less than for something as simple as your gender or your ability to have magic. So I think it would be really good for that kind of, and this is Raven's Wand, so that's the main person in the book. So the book is called Raven's Wand, and it's part of the Dark Raven Chronicle books, and the deck is called the Raven's Wand Oracle. So good. So you can see like the males are, and they're gorgeous. I mean, the artwork is so beautiful. I have not done any readings with this. I just got it because I thought my friend might really like this deck. So let's just pull a couple cards because we're at 2 o'clock, and just see what we get out of it. I do like the backs a lot. And again, the artwork is stunning. So I was disappointed in the lack of males, just because there are males. But I will say there's a lot of, it's like, I don't know, I mentioned this in another, I don't remember what I was, live chat. I think it was in for the Forest of Enchantment. Oh, here's my new deck. Be right back. Okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick because I have to go to the bathroom. We'll open that up after I do a reading. What's Chicken Baby? Where's Chicken Baby? You'd be so cute. Okay. Let me just finish this thought. I'm real quick so I don't forget it. There is a series of books by Gail Baudino. This would have been probably in the 80s. And I think that the first, I don't either. Neighborhood is I only send mine to my P.O. box because they get lost or they get left on the porch and somebody takes them. I only got it here so that we could, I did it, I think last year, where I picked a deck for us to just get in the mail because I thought it would be fun. But anyways, quickly so I don't lose I just want to make sure I get it out there. There's a series of books, and I think the first one is called Strands of Starlight. And it has similar themes where it takes place where fae and witches or magic users of any kind are being really persecuted. And it follows a young woman who is really badly assaulted and because of who she is, and having to kind of heal and recover from that. And that's a powerful series with that similar theme. But there are, I think, a lot of very positive male figures in that, as well as female figures, even though the focus is on sort of that destructive nature towards that. So that's also a good series to read that has a similar theme that this right now has. Again, the other books I think will go into broader because I'm towards the end of it, and there is more of that, how then instead of just focusing on a female coven that has seen a lot of loss and a lot of torture and things for being who they are, it kind of broadens up. But in that first book, that is the focus. So anyways, that is that book, that series of books by Gail Baudino is really powerful in that particular way. Anyways, I just wanted to get that out before I lost the train of thought. So I'm enjoying the book that goes along with this. I have no clue about the Oracle. Other than the fact that I think that the artist is amazing, as is the writer. I'm so excited that we got this card and this card and that card. Okay, so I'm happy with the first pull. Again, these are all females. This is an interesting card, but I'm going to try to read this first without talking about the story. So let's just talk about this for a minute. The first card is Black Wand's Redemption. And I think if you read the guidebook on this, it talks about the fact that at one time she wasn't that great of a person. She made some pretty bad decisions, and she had to step up to the plate. And she changed her name to Black Wand, and she went about kind of redeeming herself and making those hard calls and kind of stepping up to the plate in a really powerful way. And so I don't think that you need to have had maybe the backstory behind this particular card, but it is that idea that we aren't stuck in where we are, that we can change, that we all find ourselves in situations in which we probably aren't the shining examples of what we should be, that we've made decisions that were probably poor decisions. We might have made decisions that impacted other people in negative ways, but that we can always remake ourselves, that we do continually as human beings have the opportunity to step up to the plate when we need to step up to the plate. So I really like this card. I was excited to see this card. Now, if you read the book itself, you really don't like her. Now, I haven't gotten to the point in the books in which she has stepped up to the plate yet, although I think it's coming. But when you first meet her, I think her name is Sunday. And when you first meet her, you really don't like her. She really just like, oh, she just thinks she's all that. And so I haven't gotten to that part yet. So it was just kind of, but I love the concept of that we can always step into our power. We can always choose to step forward and, again, step up to the plate and do what has to be done. So I quite like that. The next one is the Queen of Hearts. I don't have any clue where this is referenced in the book. I haven't referenced it yet. I haven't found it yet. We have a snake here. We have a woman very similar to, what is the other animal that we see where from the blood creation is made? There's another. Oh, I'm going to kick myself when I remember it, because it's something I know it's one of those things I just should know, like how to spell the, and all of a sudden your brain goes blank. It's going to drive me crazy. Anyways, it's that similar concept, right? That when our blood, the sweat of our tears, the blood of our agony, these kinds of things can have creative power, right? Those things, what is the name of the book series? The name of the author is Gail Baudino, Baudino. I believe the first book is called Strands of Starlight. I believe that's the first of the series, but don't quote me on that. Is it a pelican? Thank you. Thank you, Neighborhood Arts. Anyways, so I know that the concept of this card is that idea that those painful situations can give birth to something new. So here we have two powerful cards of stepping up to the plate, that we can remake ourselves, that we can step forward, right, and do what needs to be done. We can step up to the plate when it's called, the time calls for it, and understand that those difficult situations, those painful situations can also be the genesis of a new life. So I think that's really powerful. And then the last card that we got is the Call of Longing. I mean, how beautiful is that? We have these really intense energies, and sometimes we find ourselves in periods of intensity, right, where we have to step up to the plate. Yes, exactly, Tammy Pie, thank you. Sacrifice is an amazing word. But it's a sacrificing of our own blood. It's that idea of that being able to create something. Those intense places, sometimes that's great and that's powerful because it's a call to being that we're going to step up. The call is to step up, but sometimes we find ourselves in those really intense situations, those really intense moments. And I love, though, that it's ending with that call to longing, right? That call of longing, that there is even in those moments when they're so intense, we have to step up. We have to sacrifice. We've got to own our choices and our decisions. That what can drive us forward is that call, the longing of our heart, whatever that might be, that longing for connection, that longing for healing. There's so many different things that can be, can be born out of these really intense moments. So I just think, I mean, it's a powerful first reading. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a, that didn't dissuade me that this isn't, it's not going to be a usable deck. So we'll see. But the book's great so far, so I'm really enjoying the book, and I'll do a walkthrough on this. I just got it, and I really wanted to finish reading the book before I did the walkthrough to see whether I thought, you know, is this workable as it stands, or is it just if you love the particular books? And yeah, the art is beautiful. I agree, Wendy. Hello, Miss Wendy, and everybody I've missed as I was babbling. Did I get the Everyday Witch Oracle? I have not. Does it? And you say it has its own system. I'm going to take a note to look at it. I'm going to open this real quick, and we need to, because we have to go at 3. But I want to do another one of those cards. Just a second. Let me write this down. I have the Everyday Witch Tarot. I've been saving to do a walkthrough of in October. So I got 2 decks. If you've been here for a while. Caden says, hello, Mr. Caden. Caden says, I feel like there are 3 cards where I feel the title is too obscure. But when you read the little blurb in the guidebook, does that help, Caden? Curiosity. Neighborhood Arts is longing, we say, because desire is full of endless distance. Oh. Longing can be too. So one of these is deck and one of these is a game. We're going to start with the game, because we just talked about a deck and probably too long. So this is a game. If you were here at the end of the first segment of our 12 hours, we got a head start. Yes, I have, Tammy, and it's absolutely amazing. I've literally had kind of one of those life-changing aha moment kind of things with the archetype deck. Yeah. Yes, and yes. Anyways, this is a game called Mixtape. And so we ended the last 3-hour segment with, I have a spot, I'll put the link up again. I started a little Spotify account so that we could do this, because you can't play music or it mutes the whole video. I've tried it already. So the idea of this game is that, okay, in this certain scenario, what is a song that you can think of that would go with that? Copy playlist. And I'll put all these playlists up later. So our first one was, if you are in a car and you're surrounded by zombies, what is the song that's the playlist? What is the soundtrack for that situation? That was some of those people just were throwing out songs as what would be the soundtrack was. And that's that. So that's what this is. These are cards that you can pull. And my daughter and I will love doing this. So you pull a card and you have a scenario, and then we're making the playlist so we can go back. And we're going to do this throughout the next hours, however many hours we have left, because I thought it would be fun to do and then end up with some playlists by the end of it. So I think I'm going to grab another one of these cards. So they have a very 70s vibe to the color. You know, if you're my age, you know the backs of tapes like this. So it's based on, you know, back in the day when we would make mixtapes and our boyfriends would make mixtapes for us, and so on and so forth. And now we make mixed playlists, right? So I just love I just thought it'd be fun just to kind of break up the monotony of the day. And then we would come across, come out with some mixes, and I'll post all of the playlists once the day is done. So let's pull one and see what we get. Ooh, what album? Okay, let me put these away because I am going to drop all these. I think I'll leave the ones we've already picked out so that we don't keep replacing the same one. So our next one is what album or song? Let's stick with songs because we're just going to stick with songs here. We can't make a playlist of albums. So what song would you listen to during the passionate creation of your first masterpiece? So if you were creating in that mode of creating your first, whatever that may be, maybe a masterpiece painting, it may be a masterpiece musical score, it may be sculpting something, it may be creating, I don't know, whatever you feel like your creative masterpiece would be. What song would you be, I got to start a new, you can think about it because I got to create a new playlist. Called Passionate Creation. And no, we are not talking about creating babies. I'm sure there will be a different question with that on there. Okay, so let me think. Okay. I got to pop the chat out because we had a real problem with me losing some of this. So let's pop out the chat. Scooch this over. And go back to the Spotify. I'm going to scroll up, so I'm going to miss some of it at first. Oh, Mozart's Requiem. Okay, so okay. So I got to go to search. I don't use Spotify, so I'm having to kind of sort this out a little bit. Mozart's Requiem. Okay. Of course, there's different options, so I'm just throwing one in there. Add to the playlist, Passionate Creation. Those Were the Days. Is that Those Were the Days by Mary Hopkins? Or there's a couple of them. I'm going to wait on that, Miss Veronica, which Those Were the Days. You may have to give me more. So I'm going to wait on that one. Fly from the Inside by Shine Down. Okay, I'm popping this in. I'll put the link to it so that we can hear what people would be doing. Spring from Vivaldi. Vivaldi Spring. I'm just going to throw one again. It may not be the perfect one, but we're just going to keep going. Carmina Burana. I see that. Again, I'm just going to, I'm going to grab the Trans-Siberian Orchestra one because I love their stuff. Dude is the voice. Oh, that's for zombies. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Eternity's Breath. Let's see. Breath. I see that. I see the one you're talking about. I'm going to add that in there. Add to the playlist. Delight. Groove is in the Heart. Groove is in the Heart. I see there's a couple versions. I'm not going to do the remix because maybe that's not the one. Hallelujah Chorus or the Ode. Yeah, that's definitely Ode to Joy. I can definitely see that one. That just gets you. I can just see you like slathering paint and, plopping paint everywhere and all of that kind of stuff. Add to playlist. Definitely. Top of the World. Oh, I love that one. Ez. I don't know how you say your name correctly, but if it's Ez or Easy or Ezzy or I'm definitely on Top of the World. Oh, stop. Top of the world. I love that song. Top of the world, looking down on creation. It's the only explanation. I'm totally slaughtering it, but I know what you're talking about. Add to playlist. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to keep up, guys. I'm trying to keep up. Breathe by Ministry. Breathe by Ministry. Oh, I can't put the by in. It just doesn't know what to do with that. Ministry. There we go. There we go. Adding to playlist. Alphabet Challenge by, I cannot say who that is. Alphabet Challenge. That's by Now We Know. I don't think that's the one. That one I can't find. This is Dongus. This is somebody different. I don't see that one by that person. I'm going to keep, oh yes, Bohemian Rhapsody for sure. My son's favorite group was Queen. Nucleogenesis. Oh, Vangelis. That's got to be amazing. All right. Yes, You Raise Me Up by the Celtic Women. Good one. Raise Me Up by the Celtic Women. Add to playlist. Go to the Mountain. I like that by Vangelis. Is that not going to be Go to the Mountain? I guess you can't get everything you want. That one is not coming up by Vangelis. I'm going to keep going. Oh no, come back. I love Tchaikovsky's. What's the one with all the Hymn of the Cherubim? There's another one with all of the bombs and stuff going off, or bombs, but cannons and things. I love that one. Okay, I'm adding this one to the playlist though, because that wasn't asked for. We can't. If we play these, it will mute us, Chris. We can only do that on like Zoom or something. I have tried already, and it will. I'm just picking one of these. Design your universe, because there are several of them. Simon says Stay by Shakespeare's. Okay, I can't. Stay. I keep putting the word by in it. It doesn't like that. Shakespeare's sister. There we go. Found it. For me, it would probably be a lot of gaming music, like Elder Scrolls music is really amazing. I don't like to have words when I am creating, like when I'm painting and stuff like that. I don't tend to like music that is got words into it, unless it's like Enya or something like that. I know there's so many. Assassin's Creed. Yeah, see, movies and game soundtracks, I think, are absolutely amazing. Yep. That's by Jed Kurzel. They're really good. They're also great for D&D playlists. Okay, how many do we have here? We've got quite a few. Okay. Work. Believer by Imagine Dragons. Let's go back here. I'm going to get a couple more, and then I'm going to wrap it up so that I can put this on here. But I think we get a nice amount to Believer by Imagine Dragons. Oops, I keep having to slide this over. Add to playlist. Sorry, you're just like looking at me. Rhapsody from Somewhere in Time. Oh my goodness, yes, that whole, I have that on record. The whole soundtrack. Here it is. Put that in there. Bye, bye, Miss Nikki. Okay. There, I'm going to stop it there. I know I've missed things for sure. But let me put I'm going to put a copy playlist. Okay, I'm going to put this there. It's Ask the Mountain. Let me try that. Ask the Mountain. There it is. There it is. Ask the Mountain. Okay, I've got that. Add to playlist. Plus. There we go. I added it in. Respect the Wind. Respect. Oh, is that in there? Okay, no words. Respect the Wind. Did I already put that in there? I can't remember. I'm just going to add this in there so I can find it later. My chat is playing up. It's Ask the Mountain Evangelist. Awesome. Martha. Oh, I have to add that from Michael. Oh, thank you, Lady Knights of Avalon. My son would approve. I am adding that in. Okay, now I'm going to stop. Okay, so again, I will put these playlists up. We now have 2 up. Passionate creation of something, and then the one is surrounded by zombies. So, you know, those are very different. Here, I'll put them both right here. This is the playlist for being surrounded by zombies, and this is the playlist for passionately creating your first masterpiece. So I think this is awesome. Thank you guys for having playing along and enjoying a little bit of fun to break up the momentum. Again, if you're interested in this particular game, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, let me fix this. I'm just going to put it back in because if we get it again, I just won't use it. The game is called Mixtape, the song and scenario card game. It says, we feel everyone is making their own life-made mixtape. It's filled with first kiss love songs, singing in the shower songs, and even a selection of guilty pleasures you only sing in the car. Challenge your friends to answer the best song to do what, and that's kind of the whole point of this little game. And so I just had thought, I saw it at Barnes & Noble's, but it was way cheaper on Amazon by 50%. And so I ordered it on Amazon so it would come in today so that we could make some playlists together. So we'll be making some more. We're here, or I'm here till 9 o'clock. And so we've got quite a few more hours to go to make more mixtapes, and then I'll post all the links so that we can hear our mixtapes, and we might do this also now and again on live chats and stuff. Tammy says the deck is unopened. Which deck is unopened, Tammy? Skyrim soundtrack is amazing. It is definitely, Chris. Sorry, I'm kind of scrolling. I know I missed everything because I was trying to keep up with the adding some songs in. Oh, the one in front of me. Oh, yes. Yeah, well, that's the other thing that I got. Should we save? We probably can save this till afterwards. This is the Divine Animals Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. And I wasn't going to get it because I like animal decks to just be animals, and there's humans in here, but it seems to be more about sort of that interaction and interconnection between humans and animals. And I also had a good friend who said they really have loved it. So I thought, oh, we'll try it. We'll try it for today. So maybe when I come back, we'll open it and save that for when I come back in the next segment. Since we just opened this one up, we'll spread it out a little bit to get through the third of our 3 hours. We're almost through our second 3 hours, folks, which means we're almost halfway there. If you're just coming on, we started at 9 in the morning Eastern time, and it is now 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. So every 3 hours, I shut the video down because it keeps the videos more manageable if you want to find where you might have missed. And it also just keeps them from being too cumbersome. So once in just a little bit, I'll be ending this video and starting the next video up. But that means we're almost officially halfway there. Has anybody stayed all the way through? That's good. Jezebel just asked that. I know some people had to kind of come in and out. Hello, Mr. Tom Benjamin. So people have come in and out. I don't know if anybody has been here from the beginning and hasn't left. I have. I've been here. Alexa's been here since 9:30. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. Lady D, yes, Lady D was here at the beginning. Michelle or Elle, very close. So yeah, we've had some close enough peoples. I think we can count the lack of 20 minutes because truthfully, by the time it's done, I'll have 15 minutes in between the two video segments. So we will allow for some degree of needing to go eat and take your dogs out and all that kind of stuff. But Spirited North, yep, just dinner. Got to eat some dinner. I need to eat some dinner. Katie was she usually brings me a cheeseburger. And I was like, are you going to bring me a cheeseburger? Oh, Bart added one, so let's put that in. Above the treetop, I'm going to add his in. He was the one who helped me figure out Spotify, so we got to make sure we add his in here. Above the treetops. I feel like I've heard that before, but I don't know. Above the treetops. I feel like I should have. A Pat Metheny group. I've got it right here. I'm adding it to the playlist of Passionate Creations. There we go. We got another one in there. Bye, Diana. Thanks for popping in. Sal's been here from the beginning. My hair looks good. Do I like it more now that it's grown out? No, I don't, Kate. I probably like it less. I truthfully, if I go back and look at images, I do like the first really short version of it, of the Pixie. Right now, I like parts of it. I like that obviously it's growing out, but it's kind of in that bubble stage. So things are like weird lengths, and the back just, I feel, because I got to keep the back short so that my sides can meet it, but that also means that it's just getting into that bubble stage where I feel like a bubble head. So it's just kind of, I don't know if you guys saw that. Now I've made it worse. Joanna's hair has started to really grow out, and we talked her into leaving her. See if I still have the picture, because I know you guys have been fantastic. Throwing candles for her all this time. I should have saved it, but of course finding it is always, I take too many pictures. Oh, here it is. Look at, I don't know if you're able to see it. her hair, we talked her into not hiding it. So her hair, you know, she obviously went from completely bald. And she was doing family pictures, and we talked her into just not covering it up or trying to wear a headband, because she looks amazing. She doesn't need to hide it. And so I'm very proud. I know I love that picture so much. So she went and her son, it's funny because her little boy, he was more concerned about her going out with it short than she was. He's like, people are going to look at you. And she's like, that's okay. People can, you know, people can look. That's all right. And he was just like, and then I think they went to Costco's or something. And he's like, people are looking at you. And she's like, it's okay. People can look. But this was before, when she didn't have even that much hair. So she does have a very good head for a pixie. But she also had beautiful, beautiful long hair. And so she definitely wants it back. So yeah, so yes and no. I mean, I'm glad that it's growing, but I do have very thick hair, and it does grow quickly. We both found this shampoo, and I'll have to find out what the name of it is, but it's a shampoo with CBD oil in it. And I will say that has definitely, we feel like has definitely made a difference. I have to get some more of it, and I'll post what it is when I get it. But I definitely have found, both of us have felt that has helped. It has other essential oils in it and CBD oil in it. Let's see. Christina, I do have very thick hair. At my daughter's is even more thicker. I know, it's gone by really fast, hasn't it? Hasn't it? Kind of scrolling back here a little bit. Wendy's been baking all afternoon. It's my daughter's 43rd birthday. Oh, happy birthday to your daughter. So chocolate cake with Bailey's for her. My son got a promotion, so I made him a camp coffee cake with Bailey's ice cream. Apparently your family likes Bailey's a lot. Would the shampoo help winter itching? It should, because of the essential oils that are in it. There are different ones. Yeah, there was something though that people recommend that she's not allowed to have. Oh yes, I did in Tasting Wildness. My Ancestry DNA test did change when it was updated. Ancestry, you know, we went through this whole conversation on chat. If you follow my channel at all, I did get my daughter and I ancestry test last Christmas. We got tests for Christmas. And they just did a big update. Obviously, the more people who do it, the more they'll be able to hone in on better details. So they had an update, and it definitely changed mine. See if I can find the picture, because I found a screenshot of the one that I had before. And here it is. I don't know, Hanaconda. CBD oil does all kinds of good things, but it was not just CBD oil. It was CBD oil as well as other essential oils. So I'm not sure if it was the CBD oil or the different, the other essential oils that were in it. I will try to post a picture of it on my Facebook. But I definitely feel like my hair felt better. I mean, how do you know if something really is going to make your hair grow faster? It was recommended as something that might help her hair. I don't remember who was it, her hairstylist. Somebody recommended it to her, so she started it and felt like it was good for her scalp, as her hair was really, really short, like the stubble was just coming in. And so then she sent. There were a couple in the ones that she first got. There's some essential oils she can't use because it ups your hormones, and she can't have her estrogen up at all. Her cancer was estrogen based, and she can't do anything to increase estrogen. And so she gave me those. And so it could have been the essential oils more so than that. Yes, argan oil is really good. I do use argan oil in my head as well. I think it is a buzzword now. I've been using it since before it was a buzzword for restless legs and other things like that. So I think if you like go to health food stores and things like that, I think it's been a conversation that's been being had for far longer than the current buzzwords. Where now, at least in the US, in my area, you see like gas stations that are like CBD oil gummies and CBD, it's everywhere. Like I wouldn't go to a gas station and buy CBD oil, but you do you, right? But I wouldn't necessarily do that. But anyways, we're digressing from the very interesting conversation of my ethnicity. Just joking. I'm going to get a little slap happy. So my Swedish ancestry has gone up by 4%, which isn't surprising. So I have 20%, 24% Swedish. My fish shouldn't be distressed. He's sleeping. No, he doesn't look to be particularly distressed. But I will take a closer look at him later. But he looks like he's just in that mode of kind of hanging around when he's like not sleeping, but when they kind of go in that quiet phase. He's been doing really good. He's eating really well. But I will watch him for that. I was heading inside. He's definitely not been happy since the other one passed. But then I've been afraid to put another one in there either because he's quite large. He needs a larger tank, especially if I'm going to put another one in there. And I'm afraid he's going to eat the other one. So I almost would have to find one his same size. And that's going to be a little difficult. So I don't know. I will keep an eye on him, though, Miss Savannah. Thank you for the heads up. He's been doing real well. He's been eating really well. I haven't had any issues with him, so I hope there's nothing. Now I'm going to be watching the fish. Going back, my Swedish is 24%, but then they were actually able to give specific areas of Sweden, which truthfully I already knew because we have our ancestry line on the Swedish side is pretty well family treed. So I kind of knew the areas of that anyways, but I will say that the areas that they were pointing to did correlate with where I would have expected them to. So 24% Swedish, 16% Norwegian. Norwegian is interesting because obviously all of those areas, when you go back in your genetics far enough, that whole sort of sub-Germanic, where you say coming out of the Germanic tribes are all in the same area. And so obviously there's going to be mixings there. But my Irish heritage is actually Norwegian. It's more through the Norwegian that came over into Ireland and established in Ireland. So even my Irish lineage is more to the Norwegian side than the Irish. So I actually only had 8% Irish and 16% Norwegian. 8% Germanic. I had because if you remember watching the last time we talked about this, my mother's dad is full German. His parents were from Germany. I don't believe he was born in Germany. I think he was born when they were here, but they were from Germany. And so I thought that was so strange. And then my mother's mother also has some German in her. So it was so strange that I had 0% German, like just straight German, because clearly I didn't get a drop of that. Because as we talked about, your genetics are random. And, even though you get half, because people get really confused when they get their DNA ancestry, because even though you get half of, say, your genetics obviously come from your mom, half your genetics come from your dad. What genetic DNA strands you get is completely random. So just because they are, say, half German and half Irish does not mean that you're going to get 25% Irish and 25% German. You could get entirely just the German DNA or entirely just the Irish DNA, right? It's not this like split in half kind of thing genetically. And people get really like thrown out of whack because they do their DNA and it's not exactly what their family story is. So you have your history, your family history, which is there no matter what, right? My mother's side is predominantly strongly German. And so that story, my heritage still comes from there, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to get that DNA. We have Native American in our genetics, but that's a small piece and it can get lost. If my mom didn't randomly get that from her mother, then I'm not going to have that strand. It's really interesting. And so it really, it causes you to stop and think about genetics and ancestry, and our ancestry, our story of our family is something that's there. And then you have your physical DNA that you gain. And so all of your siblings are different. My brother's DNA is very different than mine. So far, we've had just two. So I have two siblings that have had their DNA done. One of my brothers and my sister. My brother's is very, very different components and percentages than mine is. My one sister's is very similar to mine. She is almost the identical amount of Swedish and Norwegian and that Germanic. So we both have the predominance, so 48%, or not predominance, the high quantity of our DNA is that German, Norwegian, Swedish, but with Swedish being our highest. Or my brother hardly got any of the Swedish, but he has a much higher of the Irish. But he's also, it's hilarious because I was with the change, like his Norwegian and Swedish went down. And some other things went up. I think even his English went up. Whereas my English, like European English, went down. England and Northwest Europe, I think is what it is. For mine, went from 61% to 44%. His went up. And so I have the most like Nordic more than my brother, and yet he's got two complete sleeves of Viking tattoos. Norse. He has lots of Norse tattoos. No, that's what's so interesting, tarot students. Tarot student says, as siblings, shouldn't you have the same DNA since you have the same parents? No, you pull from the same pool, but it's completely random what you might get. And so my brother, randomly got from my father and randomly got from my mother different genetic strands, different DNA parts. I'm not a geneticist, but they get different DNA than what. So each one of your siblings it's all coming from the same pool. So you can't randomly get something completely outside of the genetic pool, but they get different things. And so my brother's is quite a bit different than mine, all in the same factor, right? We all have Swedish, Norwegian, German, Irish, and then the English. So we all have the same things, but the percentages are very, very different. It's very interesting. It's very interesting and a lot of fun. It's more confusing. Hello, Miss Molly. It's more confusing when you consider if the test accounts for maternal mitochondrial DNA. That is what connects us to mitochondrial Eve. I know some do and some don't. I don't know a lot of, I'll ask a question about it. Ask Miss Havana because I have no clue. I think it's a piece of the puzzle, maybe a piece of the genetic puzzle. Don't ask me. And does this really show you actual relatives in the database? Mine has. So mine has connected me to people that I know are related to me. Of course, a bunch of people that I don't know whether they are or not. But again, I have pretty solid, some people in America have very, very mixed and don't always have their family tree very solid. Because I have grandparents that are full something. So my grandmother was full Swedish. Her parents were from Sweden. And so we know that family line. Because my grandfather was full German, we know that family line because it came from Germany. There were quite a few that we know our family tree, and it did pick up genetically on third and fourth cousins that we know are part of our family tree. And couldn't you English roots be? Yes, for sure. It comes from, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's the other thing that really was, I think, funny to watch people opening their genetic stories, because people who think like English people, perhaps, right? They say, oh, well, mine should come back 100% English because I've been, my family's been in England for forever. England is, the shifts and flux in Europe, which is a relatively small space, especially if you compare it to the size of America, it's a pretty small space. The border crossing and shifting, and who came over here and took over that, who came over here and shifted over there, and the genetic pool across Europe is, of course, going to be mixed. And so you can have somebody who is 100% German, meaning they were born in Germany. And that doesn't mean that their genetics is going to be 100% German, which is so interesting, because I think we very much identify with, I'm Swedish, or I'm Irish. Well, you might be Irish, but your genetics are probably going to include English and Norwegian and things of that nature, because of the moving shifts of culture groups and things like that, which is so, it's so interesting that we are much more mixed. Even we think of America as a melting pot, so we grow up with that feeling, I think, of trying to reconnect to our heritage, and because America is so young, and so of course all of it, unless you're Native American, all Americans are immigrants from somewhere else. And so I think that you see a lot in America of us connecting to our heritage, because it's something that we can grab hold of. But the fact of the matter is that the whole world is a melting pot. And there are very few, 100%. I don't even know if that's possible to be 100% of anything genetically, because we are a melting pot. Interesting, Kelly. I never considered DNA as a German born. Yeah, it is interesting though. And I've seen I say German, I bring German up because I've seen quite a few unboxings. I say unboxings, but people where they do their genetic codes. I remember one particularly was an older German man. And so he was like, why he didn't even want to get it done, because he was like, he's 100% German born and bred, and when it came back, it was, I don't even remember what it was, but he had mix of things in their mix of different things, because people moved in and out of Germany throughout history, right? This is your genetics that have been passed down. And he was very upset because he had a lot of different, there were other things in there besides one thing, because we shift and move. It's so interesting. That's high somewhere in time, being 95% Italian. That's pretty cool. What about people who have 10%? I have no clue about that. I'm Heinz Caucasian special blend. Somebody said something about always disappointing, Nikki. Always disappointing. She took her dog for a walk, and when he doesn't do both businesses, it's very frustrating, because then you're going to have to do it again. but some Americans do. Oh, of course. Yes, definitely. So that's what I'm saying, that but only those people who actually have indigenous American. Everybody else is immigrants, for sure. And you may not, and you can have Native American in your bloodline like I do, but it doesn't necessarily going to show up in your DNA also. My grandmother's father was Native American 100%, and somehow I have more Native DNA. See, isn't that so interesting? It's really fascinating how it passes down. Like we can see it in my mother's family. So they have 9 children in their family. My grandfather he was 100% German, looked very classic, tall, just very German looking man, very tall, very German looking. Most of my mom's and her siblings look very Germanic. They're all quite tall. Most of them are quite tall, and they just look, especially the girls, they look very Germanic. And yet there's one sister who looks very Native American. And so this one little piece of DNA that didn't get didn't get into my mom's, because we've done my mom's genetics. She didn't get any of it. But her sister, just very much got that genetic strand just randomly out of all 9 of the kids. She's the only one, and she, looks very different, and very clearly has that in Native American DNA there. It's fascinating. There's so many variables, and how that can just randomly pop up, and then not pop up anywhere else is so interesting. That has happened a lot. Michelle says that my father told me we were part Blackfoot Indian growing up, but he later confessed that he made it up. I think a lot of people, but then I think some people mistake that too, because I've seen a lot of DNA test results where people say, oh, well, we had a family member who was XYZ, but they lied because it's not my DNA. That's not necessarily true. It just means you didn't get that, especially if it was just a sprinkling in there. It just means you didn't get the genetics. It doesn't mean that was an actual lie. So I think that it can get very confusing, because people just assume they're going to have every single bit of whatever is in their family tree, and you're not going to. Sherry says there's a card in Kyle Gray's deck that is a shine. I love that card, and is a dead ringer for my grandfather. Oh, that's so awesome. That is so awesome. Lots of tribes out west actually have Asian-looking eyes. I've heard that before. I don't know a lot about because it's interesting that my brother is married to a Mongolian. He lives in Mongolia, and his wife is Mongolian. And she, there is a kind of birthmark that Mongolians get, that is common in Mongolians, but is also common in Native Americans. And my daughter has it, and my sister-in-law had always mentioned that there are, and something else, I can't remember how the conversation came up, but I know that understanding of there being some degree of connection between Mongolian and indigenous American natives, but I don't know all the ins and out of it. I am not a geneticist or a cultural anthropologist, although I would have loved to have been. All the information we have with DNA relies on our knowledge of current anthropological studies, areas with more, yes, for sure. And that's why you're seeing shifts. So that's why you're going to see where now they kind of recalibrate their things based on what they now know, and it shifts and change. So this is not something that is 100% set, or that the technology is even there. But I will say that nothing showed up that wasn't expected. You know what I'm saying? So it's at least accurate to the degree of everything that we know about my particular genetics anyways is present, and makes sense given my history. So I don't think it's like a complete shot in the dark, but it's shifting and changing as they get more information. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. So we are going to take a 15-minute break. I said 10, but by the time I get everything shut down and the new one started, then I don't end up with 10 minutes, and I need the 10 minutes to go to the bathroom. I need to make something to eat real quick. So I am going to do the exact same thing we did before, and then we'll do our reading afterwards, because I'll open this up and we'll give it a try. So I am going to stop this video. I'm going to start the next one, so you'll be able to come into the chat while it's on pause. And then, yes, Simon, don't sit here this time. I feel like you're a veteran. You should already know this. No, it won't. It will run through instantly, but you'll be able to get into the chat instantly. But I'm gonna set it for 3:15 to come back. But you'll be able to get into the chat just like before. So I am going to go ahead and end this one, and there'll be a new one started because this is a 3rd-hour chunk. High 5, high 10, 5, 10, 15, 20 for making it halfway. We have gone to the halfway part of our 12 hours. So high 5 to everyone. And I am going to hit the end stream, and you'll be able to get right into the chat, even though the video won't start until 3:15. So I'm going to end this stream. And